really don't cost a lot of money extra. There's some procedure and some time, but they really can limit your liability and your problems. One of the things when I go to job sites the most often...
Wait. You put your pan in, even if you put your sill, your bevel in, you caulk the bottom of that flange.
You don't caulk the... sorry, get back to you. Thank you very much. Apologies. Okay, so I don't skip the bottom flange of the caulk. So if the water gets in, to your point, you want it to get out of the wall cavity. So if you seal that bottom flange, that water is going to be trapped in your wall. So when you do your flashing and your sealant below, you do it on 3 sides, put it in, and then your flashing tape as well, 3 sides, the 2 sides and the head. That's very important that you don't seal that bottom, so if any water does get in, it gets out of your house. One of the biggest things that I see when I go to job site, I find these in the dumpster. See, these are these corner pads, or some manufacturers look like this. They're a little sticky corner, and everybody says, yeah, I don't need those. I throw them away. These are very important. These are little corners that seal the nailing fin. And we don't think that nailing fin does a ton, but it does do more than hold the window in, and it's called a nailing fin, but it does help keep your weatherization. And when these are put on in the corner, it makes that seal continuous, and you want to use these. Even if you're doing the flashing tape, every manufacturer that we deal with, even if you put flashing tape on, 100% of the times you still apply these corners. It's something that, again, maybe it's just the lawyers are really nervous and they pound it down, but I believe in them. If you see when I put this window in, there's a gap in the corner where that nailing fin doesn't meet. You definitely need to cover that. There's some manufacturers now that are including that attached. It's a neoprene kind of attached already, and that's in there so we don't have to forget about it. But it's very, very important. One of the things that's very important, I was talking to you about this before we got going on, everybody knows what these are. Shims, right? Everybody's got them. Everybody uses them. Wood shims are 99% of what people use. But for windows, they really aren't great to use. And because they are beveled, they go from thin to thick. And even if you stack 2 up, a lot of times you don't get it perfectly flat. And when I go to a lot of service calls, I have windows leaking. Oh, my windows are leaking here. They got bad windows. Send the manufacturer's rep over. But what I'll find is a lot of times they put a beveled shim in, and when they fasten through the jam will actually pivot and go towards that shim. So we think, yeah, we're shimming the windows, we're doing everything proper, but if the shim's tight at the back and it's loose at the front, as soon as we apply pressure onto that shim, the window turns. So what I really recommend and what we recommend in our sell, and I think everybody should use them, are these Horseshoe Shims. Has everybody seen these before? They work great. Yeah, you use them. Over in Madison, some guys are using them already and find real success with them. But they're color-coded for different thicknesses. And they're completely flat. I'll pass them around and take a look at them. They're completely flat and they stack together. They've got little locks that lock them in place, so you can stack an 1/8 inch and a 1/4 inch or a 1/16 inch, stacking them together. And then they have little tabs on the sides. And when you slide them in the window, these tabs compress and they actually hold in place. So you don't need to jam 2 together, pull them until they're absolutely tight so the shims don't fall, or hold them and put a screw in. You can shim this window and put them in place. And because they're flat, and they're about 3 inches wide, these are really great for insert windows because they're less than the 3 1/4 pocket. You never get that twisting. You can put the screws in any way and that window jamb always stays straight. We were just saying the problem with these is they're harder to find. We have them available. But if they're at the checkout counters at the box stores along with these shims, I think a lot more people would be using them and have them. It's not an expense thing. It's really just a availability issue. So that is really, really important. Also, what is really important when you go to shimming a window, and I just got some vinyl windows from a company, not Sierra Pacific, I won't mention it, it's another company that we deal with. And my customer came out and it was an insert job. and they were actually pre-drilled for installation, and they had 4 screws in the double hung windows. And he had a question on the install, and I was out of the job site, and I said, "There's only 4 screws in these windows." And he said, "Yeah, you sold them to me, you should know what they are." And I said, "Well, that makes me worried because they were double hung windows and they were about 4 foot 8 inches tall. So fairly common, 36 by 4 foot 8, a fairly common size. But you know, a double hung window, and we've got a jamb, and sometimes we carry them to the job site like this, or we haul the windows in, or if they're vinyl, the jambs bow. And if we put a screw in here and a screw in there, there's nothing at this check rail. There's nothing where the 2 sash meet, where you need that the part where the jamb is furthest away from the top and the bottom. Always, always, always. People say that I've got the window installed. I use the nailing fin to install it. That is part of the